So, I was working on a script for a different video while playing some Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links in the meantime. I was having my usual fun playing around with my new Cyber Dark deck in PvP, and suddenly this happened. Fur Hires, a meta deck that took the PvP scene by storm. Why exactly are they so bad? Why are people always pointing at this to show how bad Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links is currently? To figure that out, I bought myself some Fur Hire cards for Duel Links and made a deck with them real quick and played a few duels against the AI for a while. Here are the results.
It's battle. Alright, you asked for it. Time for you.
Still
Well, that was fucking ridiculous. Every opponent lost the moment I got a turn in, including the current event boss Zane, mind you, who is on his highest level, which has strong cards not even available in the current game yet. Well, I think we should try going over each card one by one to show exactly why they are so hated. First of all, to clarify, there are two different kinds of Fur Hire cards. There are the smaller ones that can be normal summoned, and then can special summon other Fur Hire monsters once per turn, activating effects each time another one is summoned. And then there are the larger boss monsters that are above the level 4 that can't summon monsters themselves, but activate effects when they are themselves summoned. Let's deal with the smaller ones first, starting with Donpa, Marksman for Hire, and Reckon, Scout for Hire. Yep, we already have to start with two because they have pretty much the same effect. Both are level 2 Wind Beast type monsters with 1000 attack and 500 defense for Reckon, and 500 attack and 1000 defense for Donpa. They share the following effect. During your main phase you can special summon one monster for hire from your hand except Donpa, Marksman for Hire, or Reckon, Scout for Hire. If a monster for hire is special summoned on your field while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can target one face up or set card on the field. Destroy it. You can only use each effect of Donpa, Marksman for Hire, or Reckon, Scout for Hire once per turn, respectively. Despite having the least amount of attack, these may just be the most annoying for hire cards currently in the game. All you have to do is summon one of these furry bastards, activate their effect, play another for hire monster to swarm the field, and then snipe a card from the field that could be of any threat to you. The thing that makes this whole thing just a little bit silly is how protective Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links is usually in regards to targeted removal. Stuff like Tribute to the Doomed and Widespread Ruin are ultra rare despite not even being that good. Yet these critters are pretty much freely available for you to use at your pleasure. Unless they have beat on the hand, a for hire player will usually always start the duel with one of these. Speaking of the devil, here is the only for hire card that's higher than rare. Beat, Bladesman for Hire. He's a level 3 Earth Warrior type monster with 1200 attack and 500 defense with the following effect. During your main phase you can special summon one monster for hire from your hand except Beat Bladesman for Hire. If a monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can add one monster for hire from your deck to your hand, except Beat Bladesman for Hire. You can only use each effect of Beat Bladesman for Hire once per turn. As just stated, this card is the first one to play no matter what you do. Once you do, you can activate his effect, play maybe one of these bastards from your hand, and then search whatever for hire monster you want from your deck, including the boss monsters. And since you just summoned one of these bastards, you can now activate their effect to summon the monster you just got to your hand. Not only sniping a card from your opponent again, but also having a full board of strong monsters, well, one of which you selected freely from your deck. There's a good reason it's the rarest card in the archetype, and it strongly boosts the consistency of it. But still, you don't need it to play for hires well. And now, the final one of the smaller for hire monsters, we have Seal, Strategist for Hire. It's a Dark Beast Warrior type with 1600 attack and 1000 defense with the following effect. During your main phase you can special summon one monster for hire from your hand, except Seal Strategist for Hire. During your main phase, you can special summon one monster for hire from your hand, except Seal's Strategist for hire. If a monster for hire is special summoned to your field while you control this monster, except during the damage step, you can target one monster for hire in your graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use each effect of Seal's Strategist for hire once per turn. This guy is kind of the odd one out. It's the second strongest attack-wise, but except for his usual for hire summon effect, you never really end up using his actual effect all too often. Getting a card from your graveyard is extremely strong, especially with one upcoming boss monster, but usually duels don't last that long for you, since you are still using meta cancer. Duels either end in the first or second turn, or opponents give up. For good reason. Now for the boss monsters, which launch this deck from just annoying to absolutely retarded. Firstly, this big strong beefy boy, Dyna, hero for hire. He's a level 6 Earth Beast warrior type monster with a huge 2500 attack and 1400 def, and if this card is special summoned, you can banish cards from your opponent's graveyard up to the number of monsters for hire you control with different names. You can only use this effect of Dyna, hero for hire, once per turn. Monsters your opponent controls cannot target monsters for hire for attacks, except this one. This boy is the reason duels don't last longer than a turn or two. After you use these bastards to clear the field, drop this guy and attack for almost a guaranteed win, unless something is still left on the field, play the other boss monster instead. But that's not all! The effect he activates when summoned is actually extremely strong for all different kinds of decks. Many archetypes actually depend on having stuff in their graveyard to activate effects, which Dyna obviously quickly shuts down. There's Cyberdark, Cyber, Batteryman, Bujingi, Insects, Zombies, some hero cards, Plants, Red Eyes, Frogs? Finally we have Wiz, Sage for hire, a level 7 water spellcaster with 1600 attack and 2800 defense. If this card is special summoned, you can gain 500 life points for each monster for hire you control with a different name, except Wiz, Sage for hire. When your opponent activates a spell or trap card, or effect, quick effect, you can discard one card for hire, negate the activation. You can only use each effect of Wiz, Sage for hire once per turn. Fuck this card, and everything it stands for. In case you couldn't finish the duel with Dyna, summon this bitch instead. You get a wall with 2800 defense, 500 or even 1000 life points, as well as a once per turn negation of any spell or trap your opponent uses. It doesn't even have to target anything. All you have to do is throw a furry away, which you can get again next turn with Seal or the for hire only revival spell card. So yes, the deck is extremely powerful, but so what? The same can be said about almost every deck, can't it? Dark World and Lightsworn are in Duel Links too, but no one ever complains about them. But yeah, first of all, Lightsworn with the small deck size is suicide anyways, but most importantly of all, these decks aren't cheap. This is where for hire comes in. It is ridiculously cheap. All of these cards I just mentioned with ridiculous strong effects and extremely good synergy are rare, with the exception of Beat. And they are all available from the same mini box, consisting of only 80 packs. Meaning that for you to get a good for hire deck going, you only need to spend like 1000 gems to have everything you need to be Cancer, which is nothing. A certain YouTuber even showed how he almost instantly got to the Platinum rank by using them on the same day that he started playing, having nothing optimized at all. In fact, his deck still consisted of bad spell cards that had nothing to do with the entire deck, like block attack. The saddest thing, as well as the most infuriating one, is that this is just history repeating itself. Just a few months before the Sylvans were added into the game, it was beat for beat the same story. They were included in a mini box, only one super rare, which is mostly there for consistency, whereas everything else is rare only. It has a ridiculously easy way of getting a monster on the field with 2700 attack, and a lot of small bastards that clear the field with annoying effects. The things that Sylvans didn't have, however, was protection, meaning that besides of Rose Lover, they had to get stuff from other packs to keep them alive. Also, they had to rely sometimes on luck to clear the field, whereas For Hire just needs a bunch of monsters on the hand. Still, they got a serious nerf once the ban list came around, making Sylvans almost impossible to play nowadays, with all important playmakers being semi-limited, including Rose Lover. And well, take a wild guess which archetype came out the moment the ban list hit. Konami now got themselves into a corner again. To save the PvP scene, they have to hit For Hire soon with a ban, upsetting every person who bought For Hires. However, if they afterwards send in another overpowered meta deck in the upcoming mini-box, well, I think Duel Links will die before we ever even reach 5Ds. But hey, that's just my 2 cents. Thanks for watching me rant about an online card game for a few minutes. See ya then.